All right, well, we've had small balance patch, so now we're going to look at another tier list, see how things have moved. Has the Celeste nerfed on anything? Spoiler alert, no, probably not. Now, we're going to rank the heroes from S+ tier to C tier, because like I said, in Deadlock, I think pretty much every hero is always playable, and of course, we're going to do this from my perspective. So I'm currently Eternus 1. There's almost like no Eternus 2 players in the game, so I'm one of the highest ranks, and obviously my perspective is going to differ from other people's perspectives, and there are certain heroes that are disproportionately stronger at certain ranks, and when I place those heroes, I will try to mention, hey, this hero is actually really strong, I think, at lower ranks, but from my perspective, it's not. So this is a matchmaking tier list. It's not a pro play tier list, okay? And it reflects my experience. Starting off with Abrams, I think Abrams is still really strong, to be honest. Like, I see this hero doing really, really well. Is Abrams overpowered? I don't see Abrams on the enemy team and think, oh, I can't win the game, or it's going to be really, really hard. So I think Abrams, to me, is a solid S tier, sorry. He's like, his shoulder charge is extremely valuable. He's an extremely solid mid-boss hero, which is very important right now. So his ult and his shoulder charge are really valuable. He's got good sustain. He does good damage. He's kind of like a good all-rounder with great CC, which is always going to be good in a MOBA. I think Abrams has almost never had a patch where he's really bad. His fundamental kit is just like really strong. So yeah, I would say S tier. I don't think he needs nerfs. He definitely doesn't need buffs. He's very, very solid. So Apollo, I just don't have a lot of data. Just to clarify, some of these heroes I just don't see that often. Apollo is one of those heroes that I don't see that often. I think that he's actually really good, but I think he's like underplayed right now, and people haven't fully explored what's possible with him. So I'm going to put him in A tier. I think he's good. I think that he could definitely be higher than A tier, but I haven't seen the players make him look higher than A tier yet. The Apollo changes where he got his duration back on riposte on 2 AP definitely makes him really good, and the overall lifesteal gives him a ton of sustain, but I haven't seen too many crazy Apollo moments where he just like sustains like 1v5 or anything crazy like that. But it does feel like he's underrated overall by most people. Bebop, I'm putting in A tier. I think Bebop is extremely solid. Veilwalker is a really popular item right now, and Bebop is one of the best users of Veilwalker, which I think contributes to his strength in the current meta. I don't think that he's like... I think that he's got a lot of counters, and he's got a lot of matchups that like aren't that good, which is why I think he's only A tier rather than S tier. Like, I think Abrams is like good basically every single game. I think Bebop is some games where it's going to feel bad into some of the current meta heroes. We'll get to the S+ tier heroes later, but yeah, I think some of the matchups going to be a bit rough. But I think most of the time Bebop is providing decent value. His hook is really good. His ultimate, although counterable, is really good, especially in lower ranks. If people are not stunning you out of your ult, it's a ton of damage. Really, really hard. Now, going on Billy. So I think Billy got like changes. I don't know that Billy is S+ tier right now. Billy has fallen off a bit for me. Billy hasn't really felt as strong as he was before. I do think the changes to his 2 did matter. I think he's like really, really strong, but is he stronger than Abrams by a ton? In matchmaking, okay, so in competitive play, I think Billy's probably S+ tier still. But I want to say that in my matchmaking games, I've not felt that Billy is much stronger than Abrams. I do think that he is still really good, but I think the changes were enough to like put him at a more reasonable state. Like right now, I don't feel like Billy deserves like hotfix nerfs or anything like that. Okay, Calico. I think Calico is S or S+ tier. To be honest, like I could totally see Calico being S+ tier. I think she's insanely strong. I played Calico today. I played 4 games of Calico. She feels really, really, really strong. Her burst is still insane, but her late game teamfight is also good, right? Like she doesn't really fall off. Like if you go Scourge, Escalating Exposure, etc., like you still do a shit ton of damage in late game teamfights, and you can one-shot people, even really late in the game. She's just a little janky to get used to with the Gloom Bombs, but I think she's a solid S tier. Could see S+ tier, but I don't think that she deserves it necessarily. Right, like I think in the right hands, Calico can be S+ tier. Okay, Celeste, I'm putting S+ tier. I think the nerfs are mostly cosmetic. I don't really think that they really nerf things that matter a ton. I think she's still going to be dominating a lot, especially in matchmaking. The ult is still insane, even though the scaling on the ults got nerfed early. But later in the game, it actually does more damage than before, I believe. And like Celeste late game was already kind of the problem, right? Like, I mean, the mid game of Celeste was good, yes. It was very strong. But like the problem is like Celeste late game also dominated. So yeah, I think she's still overpowered. Now, if you're not new around here, when it comes to Doorman, you would know I'm a notorious Doorman hater. But I also think that this hero is just OP. Now, I will preface saying that Doorman is OP by saying that he's OP if your team utilizes the doors, okay? which in high rank matchmaking, like Infernus matchmaking, does happen. The team does utilize the doors. It allows you to free contest mid boss, free contest rift, basically any objective, like go for shrines with any risk. Doorman just removes a ton of risk from the decisions that your team has to make. The utility is crazy of the doors because it allows you to do really aggressive play and just leave with your entire team. The damage output of Doorman itself is also pretty good, and his ultimate's pretty good. So like his damage output is strong, his ultimate is strong. He has a cart. He can still kidnap people, by the way. Like, the kidnap nerfs are like, yeah, sure, but he can still kidnap people. And on top of that, like, I think the doors utility, when used properly, are, like, insane. I think, overall, like, Doorman is going to stay in S+ tier unless they, like, fundamentally change something. Now, I will say that this is a slightly idealized version of Doorman. Is Doorman carrying a ton of matchmaking games? No. You need to be really good at Doorman. So this is one of those where disproportionately strong in the hands of really good players, but, you know, he's probably more like A tier in the hands of like your average, you know, raccoon rank player. Drifter, I think, is good. I don't think Drifter is no longer S+ tier. I would put Drifter in S tier or A tier. I'm trying to think. So I think Drifter is good. From my matchmaking experience, I'm putting him A tier. I think that he's kind of on the same level as Bebop. I think Apollo is like underrated as well. So I don't think that he's on the same level as like Calico, Billy, Abrams, as like they can really take over the game. Drifter can snowball super hard and he can start one-shotting people, and his ultimate has a ton of value. But it feels like the nerfs to him were enough to bring him more in line. He can still build to kind of one-shot you, and it's insanely powerful. But he also fell off after the Spirit Burn Mystic Shot changes, right? So like the Tank Buster, Spirit Burn, Mystic Shot, etc., where you would just like one-shot people with that. That got changed a little bit, so it's a little bit worse. Dynamo, I think, is just a solid hero. Like, I'm never really upset to have a Dynamo. I think he's a A tier. Like, Dynamo's biggest strength in the pit, he's insanely strong in mid boss, and his second ability is probably one of the most underrated abilities in the game to this day. Quantum Entanglement is like insane value, especially into certain heroes. So I think that that's like really, really underrated in general. I think that Dynamo actually is underrated because a lot of good players don't really play Dynamo. And I think if more good players spent a ton of time on Dynamo, I think he would go up a little bit. But overall, he is still like fairly counterable, right? Like there's a lot of stuns in the game that can just cancel his black hole until he gets unstoppable. So his ultimate is also like insanely long cooldown. So in the mid game, he's not necessarily the strongest. Now, Graves. Okay, so Graves is kind of the problem child, where she feels insanely OP at lower ranks, and she feels kind of not OP at all in higher ranks. Now, I don't actually think Graves is unplayable in higher ranks, but I think situational is the tier that I would leave her in. Now, here's the reason, right? Every time I put Graves in a low tier and tier list, people are always like, I don't know, Graves is a 56% win rate, and she dominates everything, and blah, blah, blah. So here's my message, right? The thing about Graves is that Graves is a conditional character that dominates fights in specific conditions. So number one thing is people in lower ranks are not good at punching the skulls off of them. So the skulls get insane value because people are not good at punching them off. Number two, people are not good at playing around the wall. And number three is people just get hit by these zombies a ton. And they don't prioritize killing Graves, right? Graves is a hero that if you have, for example, let's say you have a Calico on your team, right? Calico will just one-shot the Graves. And there's nothing that Graves can do. She's one of the squishiest heroes in the game. She's extremely low mobility. She really has like very few answers to characters that burst her. And right now in the meta, there's a lot of characters that are able to just, you know, take her down instantly, which is why I don't think she's great. Grey Talon, I'm putting in B tier. It feels like if you get going with Grey Talon, he can be really strong, but he does feel extremely counterable right now. I don't remember the last time I've seen a Grey Talon in a game that actually had like a really, really good performance. So I think he's okay if you're really good at Grey Talon, but other than that, it doesn't really feel like he stands out in any way. He's better than Graves, I would say. And Gun Grey Talon is playable. Spirit Grey Talon is playable. But there's also a lot of the meta heroes are like just good at countering him too, right? Like the fact that Lash, we're going to talk about Lash later, but the fact that Lash is meta really, really hurts Grey Talon. Holliday is interesting. Oh, sorry, Haze. Let's not skip Haze first. So when it comes to Haze, she's still a good pick hero. And you can still win with her. Is she better than Graves? I think she's in the same category as Graves, where like situationally into certain matchups, it can feel really, really good. Like, I know not a lot of people might agree with this one, but I think that I think Haze can be like a really good answer to like greedy Wraith or Mirage players hunting them in the side lane, especially if they're delaying their debuff for their dispel magic, purchase. So against specific side laners, playing pick Haze, hunting them on the side lanes, killing them when they don't have dispel magic yet, can work. The carry build overall is pretty bad, so I'd put her situational. I think she like can counter certain heroes, but other than that, I'm not really happy to see Haze on my team. I'm usually pretty unhappy to see Haze. She gets countered too easily. Like her damage, like people buy Metal Skin, you don't do anything, so you need to buy Curse. That's like double the price. And then on top of that, you're like just really easy to kill. Holliday, ever since they changed the barrel to do damage over time, it feels like Holliday's like power level went down a lot. I'm hesitating between B tier and A tier. She's definitely not S tier. I would say I'm going to put her B tier. It honestly doesn't feel like she is that great anymore. I've seen way less games where Holliday's like run away with it. I do think the barrel changes overall hurt her. Now you buy the spell magic against Holliday, or you buy debuff resistance, and overall you counter the barrel and the lasso with debuff resistance. And her ability to burst people down really was like one of her biggest strengths, and now she lost that. Her movement is still insane. Lasso is still insane. But overall, I don't think she's that great anymore. Okay, Infernus. I know people might disagree with me on this, but I think Infernus is strong. I know a lot of people say Infernus is trash or whatever. I really don't think Infernus is trash at all. I think Infernus has a really good early game, depending on the matchup in lane. Now, obviously, like if you can set people on fire in the lane, your early lane is really strong. Like the moment you get 1 point afterburn, you're really hard to deal with. In the mid game, it obviously depends on the characters you're playing against. Like for example, Infernus versus Lash can feel really bad. The only thing that's keeping Infernus from being much more meta, in my opinion, are the fact that a lot of the S+ tier heroes are like flyers. And a lot of the S+ tier heroes, Infernus doesn't really interact with. So I think that's the only reason why I'm putting him in strong pick instead of S tier. I think that his kit is actually in a really good place right now. It's just that he doesn't interact with a lot of the heroes that are really strong at the moment. So I think Ivy is S tier. I think she's really strong. I think if you watch Wander, he kind of makes her look like S+ tier. Ivy is just a hero that's extremely hard to shut down. And so she's almost always been good in her lifespan as well. There's been very few patches where Ivy's bad because of her base kit. Her ultimate being global, Stoneform being an iframe, Tether giving a ton of fiery and healing, not only to her, but you know, anybody else on her team. Overall, I think both like a more Spirit Ivy or a more gun-focused Ivy with like Capacitor, Siphon Bullets, Inhibitor, etc. I think both of those builds are completely viable, and I would say every time I have Ivy on my team, I'm extremely happy. The number one thing that makes Ivy not look S tier is that players that play Ivy don't use their ult anywhere near enough. I've seen so many Ivies that are holding onto their ults. Like, you need to use that stuff off cooldown. Like, literally off cooldown, fly somebody else. Don't fly yourself, fly somebody else with you. Look for kills, look for aggression. You guys both get damage amp and a barrier. It's one of the best parts of our kit, and people don't use it enough. Kelvin. I'm putting Kelvin in B tier. I think he's still good with specific combos, heroes that benefit from sustain, heroes that benefit from fighting in enclosed areas. So I think some of his best combos are stuff like Victor or Shiv, right? Which Shiv is not really great right now. I would say Shiv is pretty bad, whereas Victor is not bad at all. Victor's pretty decent. So with specific combos, Kelvin can still do really well. But overall, it feels like you would rather have other like supporty characters. It doesn't really feel like there's anything that Kelvin does particularly better than other support characters, right? Like, when would you rather have a Kelvin over an Ivy in the current meta? It kind of feels like you'd rather have an Ivy, or you'd rather have, you know, like a Rem, for example. If you want healing, like Rem is just going to do a better job at healing you. So yeah, I basically think he's playable, completely fine. This is probably a hero that's also disproportionately better at lower ranks, just because of the nature of you know, the damage that he does, and the fact that people feel like Ice Beam is like really strong at lower ranks, whereas at higher ranks, most people think Ice Beam is like pretty bad. So yeah. Geist, I think, is actually really good. I'm putting Geist in S tier. I think that Geist feels really strong. Yes, Radiant Regen got a really small nerf, but she feels hard to shut down. She feels like she can farm well. She's really high damage output. Swap is like, I mean, I feel like her ultimate is always like insane value, especially in matchmaking. The one weakness that she has is mobility, but other than mobility, she has a strong lane, a strong mid game. She's one of the best like 1v1 side laners in the game, right? There's not a lot of other side laners that can fight Geist in 1v1s with life drain and with her ultimate. So for all these reasons, I think she's very consistent. And if you're a person that likes farming and likes side laning, I think Geist is a great bet right now. Okay, Lash. S+ tier, overpowered. Look, I'm a Lash main. I love Lash. Lash is too strong right now. Okay. Why is Lash too strong? Very simple. It's not that Gun Lash does a ton of damage, okay? It's Gun Lash specifically, by the way. Spirit Lash is not S+ tier, but Gun Lash is S+ tier. The reason why Gun Lash is too strong is not that Gun Lash will do more damage than like a Venator or like a Vyper or anything like that. Not even close, right? It's not even going to do anywhere close as much damage. The reason why it's so strong is because it has no counterplay. It has no counterplay. So the problem with Gun Lash is that almost no heroes in the game can interact with it. He stays in the air permanently. And yeah, sure, you can buy knockdowns. Phantom Strike is honestly the best counter to it. But yeah, you can buy a knockdown, but he just buys Dispel Magic. If you buy multiple knockdowns, he can just buy Unstoppable. Like, he always has answers to it. And he's able to dish out his damage extremely consistently because he's got great sustain with Flog as well. So not only is he extremely hard to hit and interact with in the air, and he can stay in the air forever because Grapple has a really short cooldown and Recharging Rush gives him more charges. But on top of that, he has great sustain with Flog, and he's just dealing a lot of damage. And his damage is like almost perfectly hybrid. It's like 50% Spirit, 50% Gun. So it's also very hard to itemize against him, right? One of the best items if you want to prevent him from doing damage is buying Disarming Hex, but he'll still do damage with Flog and his other abilities. And of course, on top of that, his ultimate can bring tremendous value. And with the Gun Lash build, you get your max ultimate much earlier than with the Spirit Lash build, meaning you can get like huge, game-winning ultimates earlier. So for all of that, he's S+ tier. I think what they should do is they should lower his fall-off range even more. I don't think Lash should be like a hero that wants to play from a distance. Most of his kit tells you that you want to play like fairly close, right? Except maybe the ultimate. And so overall, I would lower his fall-off range even more so that it feels like it's not really worth it to play like super far with Gun. And if you want to build Gun, it'd be more for close quarters. McGinnis. Okay, so McGinnis, I'm putting S tier. McGinnis turret build got gutted, okay? So the McGinnis turrets are no longer that good. But McGinnis is still really good, and I will not hear otherwise from the McGinnis players, okay? The McGinnis players, they will tell you that their hero is unplayable, they can't do anything, the turrets die instantly, they're starving, they have no money, they have no job, but like overall, McGinnis is actually still really good. McGinnis is actually really good. Her Gun build, I think now most people are playing the Gun build of McGinnis, which essentially didn't get her at all, other than the fact that her heal AP got moved around. But her laning stage is actually even stronger than it was before. She already had arguably one of the best lanes in the game, and now her laning stage is even stronger than it was because the 1 AP and heal actually gives it duration. Putting her in S tier for all those reasons. The wall is also really annoying. So right now it's the wall and heal and her gun that are really, justifying the S tier. The ult is still really good as well if you build for it too. I'm putting Mina in S tier as well. I think that she is an extremely strong hero, very hard to shut down. She's not as good as Celeste or Lash at carrying. So for getting to Infernus, the 3 heroes that I played were Mina, Celeste, and Lash. Those were my most played. And what I can tell you is that it feels easier to carry a game as Lash or Celeste than it does as Mina. Mina is a little bit more team dependent, and she can be countered a little bit more in my experience than the other two. But she can snowball an insane amount. She's insanely hard to catch. She can push waves extremely aggressively. Her ultimate is still strong. Rake does a ton of damage. So overall, like, she has very few weak parts of her kit. She is weakest to heroes that can burst her down. One of the things that is keeping Mina like in check is the fact that Lash is so strong, and Lash has a really good matchup against Mina. Because basically Mina struggles versus like undodgeable burst, right? That's like one of Mina's biggest weaknesses. And Lash with Flog and Headhunter is able to like melt Mina pretty effectively. So I think it's a pretty bad matchup for her. Okay, moving on to Mirage. Mirage, in my opinion, also S tier. Extremely strong hero. He's got one of the best laning stages in the game still. His mid game is good. The only thing, I think people misrepresent Mirage as like this carry type hero, when in reality Mirage is just one of the best debuffers in the game, right? When you look at his kit, he just applies a bunch of debuffs to everyone. His scarabs are like inhibitor. His 3 also has a stun, right? At the end of the day, if you max it. And he's got great macro and tornado. He lifts people. So his entire kit is just applying debuffs. And it's reflected in the current meta builds that'll go like escalating exposure and stuff to really boost his debuffing. And I think if you play him like that, he feels exceptionally strong, and he's very good at applying debuffs and shutting down other carries. But I wouldn't say that Mirage is like necessarily like a carry in his own way. In my opinion, he doesn't really fill the same type of role that a Geist or an Ivy can. Where he's not going to be like applying like a ton of like extremely consistent damage, but he's going to be applying a lot of debuffs. He still does a lot of damage, though. He still does a lot of damage. Oh, Mo and Krill, Mo and Krill. This Mo and Krill hero, I think is, I think this hero's broken. I'm gonna be honest, I think Mo and Krill is better than both Abrams and Billy, from my experience. He can use the tunnels better now. He feels kind of unkillable. He does a lot of damage. He's got combo. I think this hero right now feels really good. And he's also one of the best answers to some of the other meta heroes. Like if you look at Lash and Celeste and S+ tier, and you think, oh, what hero actually shuts down these high mobility, impossible to catch heroes? It's Mo, right? So Mo is like one of the best at doing that. So for those reasons, I'm going to put him S+ tier. I don't think he needs to be nerfed like a ton. Maybe a small nerf would be enough to bring him in line. The thing about the balance in Deadlock is that the balance is on a very fine knife's edge, right? So in a few weeks, they could have changed nothing, and the balance might change just because we've discovered things as players. So what I'm saying right now is not the objective truth. It's just how I feel about the game right now. And if you ask me a month later or 2 months later, even if nothing had changed, I may change my opinion on some of these things. And that's just being human. So, but right now I feel like Mo is a little too strong, in my opinion. Paige, I think Paige is just like, I think Paige is situational, to be honest. I think she's in the same tier as Graves and Haze. So I'm going to leave her down here. I think Paige is also one of those heroes where I think both Graves and Paige at lower ranks are probably like A tier, S tier, or even higher. The biggest thing with Paige is that she's extremely squishy and she's a victim. She just gets fucking killed. And that hasn't changed. But at lower ranks, and pretty much all of her abilities are grounded, which are hard to use against a lot of the heroes that are strong. So that's really the reason why Paige is not shining. If Paige became less of a victim, or the meta changed significantly and it was like a lot more grounded heroes, you would probably see the rise of Paige. Her laning stage is still one of the strongest laning stages in the game. It's incredibly difficult to interact with the Paige in the laning stage. However, once you get to the mid game, I don't remember the last time I've lost to a Paige where it felt like the Paige did much, because once I get to the mid game, I just killed him instantly. Okay, Paradox. So Paradox, I think, is actually really good. I'm going to put Paradox in A tier because I haven't seen the case for S tier yet for Paradox, but I think that she is definitely better than Holliday right now, is my impression. I've seen a few different builds. I've seen the build that goes 2 points in everything, and then maxes Carbine. I've seen builds that like max Carbine right away. Maxing Carbine seems to be kind of, gaining a lot of popularity right now, and I've definitely been hit by, 1,000 damage Carbines, and that's incredibly strong. However, if Carbine Paradox is ever a problem for you, just remember Spellbreaker completely nullifies the Carbine damage. Just a friendly reminder. I think people have forgotten about that. But I think she's strong. I think she's good. But I don't think I don't see Paradox and I'm like, oh man, I can't do anything. Okay, Pocket. I think Pocket is still S+ tier in my opinion. Yes, Pocket's win rate is not good. I know people are going to say that every time I put Pocket in S+ tier. Pocket's win rate's not good. However, if you want to talk about win rates, which I don't think win rates are that great of a metric, there are one metric. If you want to bring up win rates, Pocket is one of the heroes that has the highest change in win rate based on the amount of games that you have on the hero. So if you have over 250 games on Pocket, your win rate is like way higher than the average. And I think that on people that know what they're doing with Pocket, they're still incredibly strong. And basically, like, there's a bit of a theme with the S+ tier heroes, right? If you look at the S+ tier heroes, it's all heroes that are incredibly difficult to interact with, right? Doorman with the doors can basically escape a lot of situations. Lash stays in the air permanently. Celeste has insane movement and stays in the air permanently. Pocket has a ton of ways to dodge basically all sorts of damage. And then Mo just like has a ton of healing and a ton of damage reduction when it comes to burrow. Mo's probably the one that's like easiest to interact with out of this list, but yeah. So with Pocket, whether you play Max Mirage or Max Ult, I think the value is really strong. Obviously, Max Ult has a ton of anti-heal value, which a lot of these heroes in the top also like depend on heal, like Mo and Krill or Celeste. Like if Celeste gets afflicted, like I played the Celeste matchup versus Pocket. If you get afflicted, it's really bad because Celeste right now is extremely dependent on healing. So if you get hit by Max Affliction, it can be really bad for you. Okay, moving on to Remethy. I think Rem's actually really good right now. I think Rem is a little bit slept on. You get it, guys? Because he's got a little pajama. He's like kind of a sleep demon. But anyway, I think Rem is solid. I think he's really good. Actually, he's not just solid. His lane is incredibly good. One of the best lanes in the game. Great pressure with the little troopers. His pillow is really good. His gun is good early. He has insane sustain and very hard to deal with. So in terms of lane, very strong. And on top of that, the moment that he gets time, he just goes into the tunnels and he just gets a ton of money. So overall, I also think that he pairs up really well with heroes like Lash, Mo and Krill, etc. Like, you know, a lot of the tanky heroes. If you have tanky heroes on your team and you've got Rem, it feels really good. And also, the spirit resistance that Rem brings from his little troopers is something that's very often ignored. So not only the spirit resistance, but also the fact that sleep is a good counter to both Lash and Celeste to kind of neutralize them. Now, of course, they can just buy counterspell, but you're forcing them to buy counterspell at least. But the spirit resist is really good in a meta where obviously the majority of damage is spirit. Okay, 7. I think 7 is basically like, I'm going to say, okay, so 7 in lower ranks is probably like S tier or S plus tier. I think in higher ranks, he's like viable. I'm going to put him in viable. I actually think in higher ranks, the best 7 build is the old 7 build. I'm not even kidding. Like, I feel like when I have an old 7 on my team, I'm not even upset. But when I have a 7 that's trying to build like either max ball or max 3 right away, I kind of feel like they just have less value than if they just went max ult. Overall, he's much better in lower ranks because people are not as good at shutting him down. But I think in higher ranks, he doesn't really feel that strong. The best thing that 7 has going for him in higher ranks is the fact that he's got a ton of spirit resist shred. That is like by far his best quality. And I think if you pick him in a team that does a lot of spirit damage, he can enable a lot of that. But he's a hero with 0 mobility that gets jumped on, and he doesn't really have any way to peel for himself. His stun is a delayed stun, as opposed to, for example, Venator, whose shotgun like is instant and allows you to turn the tables on someone going on you. So I feel like 7 is much more of a victim than other heroes. Shiv, I think Shiv is really, really bad right now. And look, they got to be careful about buffing this hero because Shiv is like one of the most unfun heroes in the game when he's strong. But I think Shiv is definitely in the bottom tier of heroes. Like in certain situations, he still shines, but most of the time, kind of feels like the hero doesn't really do a whole lot. It feels like even the Shiv players are not really playing him anymore. So I'm leaving him in C tier situational. I think that, you know, he's not great. Now, Silver. So Silver is extremely pilot dependent. The only person I've played against in North America that made Silver look good is Goober. So that was kind of influenced my last tier list where I put Silver pretty high because Goober made her look good. However, realistically, Silver is not that good right now. I don't think she's terrible though. I'm going to put her in B tier. Like, I think that she's better than a lot of these lower tier heroes. And she has a lot more situations where she could be picked in. But she's extremely, extremely hard to pilot. Like, she's a very hard hero. I would say one of the hardest to play in the game right now. Even though it might look simple from the outside, it's really not. And I think that that's part of what's holding her back. But yeah, I'm going to put her in viable. I think you can definitely make her work in certain situations. But overall, I don't think she's that strong. Sinclair is another one of those heroes that's also pretty hard to play, and Sinclair looks really good in the hands of Sinclair players, but then when non-Sinclair players play him, he looks complete trash. So it's actually very hard to like put this hero on a tier. It's also very dependent from the ultimates that you can get, right? If you can get incredible ultimates in your game, then it's like insane. If you can't get good ultimates, then it's like not really that good. So depending on the game, Sinclair can go from like A tier to like S plus tier, depending on the skill level of the player, depending on the ultimates that he can steal, depending on the team composition. I think this hero is kind of slept on. I'm gonna put her in put him in A tier, but he could definitely be S tier. I think if you're like a Sinclair one trick, he's definitely S tier. Like if someone like Connor plays Sinclair, like he's S tier in my mind. Yeah, them. Sorry guys, it's actually them. Okay, there's 2 of them. There's a man and a woman. Okay, I'm sorry about that. But anyway, yeah. Now Venator. Venator is interesting. My gut instinct for Venator tells me to put him S tier. However, based on the performances I've seen in matchmaking, he kind of feels like he's A tier. So based on what I've seen, I'm going to put him A tier. Now, I still think his kit is unbelievably strong. Like the shotgun stun is great. The grenade is great anti-heal. The ultimate actually allows you to do burst damage as a carry, which I think is really viable. But I've actually seen Geists do a lot better than Venators in my matchmaking games. But I do think that they could be interchangeable depending on who's playing them and also like the team compositions. I think overall he's good. But he's also very hard. He's fairly hard to play because he's a low mobility guy. He does have peel with a shotgun, but a shotgun is a little tricky to hit, right? But I think if you're really good at Venator, you can make it work. I was watching Sonya Sniper farm on Venator the other day, and it definitely didn't look weak. Victor. Victor is like, okay, Victor is a potential man, I feel like Victor is potential man. So like if you get to like late game full Victor build, you can absolutely kill everyone. But if you don't get there, it feels like his early game got nerfed a lot. It's still decent though. I don't think his early game's that bad. I kind of want to put Victor like A tier. I feel like Victor is better than everyone I have in B tier almost. I think he's a little bit slept on. So I'm going to put him A tier. I do think that when you reach like your potential, Victor like is really, really good. And he's also a really good mid-boss hero. So if you look at a lot of the heroes in B tier, they're like decent mid-boss heroes. They're actually pretty all right. But I think with Victor, if you reach full potential on him, he actually like can just 1v6 the enemy team almost. Just like I did that I did a matchmaking game. I played standard and I held egg for 30 minutes and then I just became unkillable. That was kind of funny. But obviously that's not realistic. Most games you won't be able to do that. Vindicta, in my opinion, is okay. The only thing that holds Vindicta back is the fact that Lash is like super giga meta. If Lash was not like a Thanos hero of doom, I think Vindicta would be S tier. I think based on the fact that Lash is in every game right now and Lash is like really, really good against Vindicta, I'm putting her in A tier. But if Lash gets nerfed, Vindicta could easily go S tier without anything changing. Vindicta genuinely right now has one of the craziest damage output potentials in the entire game. Like if you get going, you do insane damage with the gun Vindicta build, especially if you have stacks. So yeah, I think she just gets shut down by certain heroes. But overall, like I've seen Vindictas that make this hero look crazy for sure. All right, Viscous. Okay, Viscous, I think, okay, look. The Viscous LARPers are going to say that this hero is not that good. This hero is still S+ tier, in my opinion. I think that, okay, Cube, I don't really need to say anything about Cube, but Cube has not been changed much, and it's still the best save ability in the game. It's basically an ethereal shift that heals your teammate as well. That can be cast on a teammate. That's incredible. He's got basically one of the best mobility kits in the entire game with Ball and Puddle Punch. Ball and Puddle Punch, he can move around the map if you're good at Viscous, okay? Now, this is based on the fact that you're good at Viscous and you're utilizing Viscous's kit well, which not that many Viscouses do. But regardless, if you're good at Viscous and you're using Puddle Punch well to move around the map, etc., you have insane mobility, the best save in the game. Your Puddle Punch also does a lot of damage, and if people don't parry it, I mean, they just get melted. And Splatter still does 1 million damage. So you can still top damage on this hero, and you have a ton of utility. So overall, I think he's one of the best heroes to have in almost any team comp. I'll never be upset to have a Viscous on my team unless they really don't know how to play the hero. But yeah. Okay, Vyper is interesting. I really want to put Vyper S+ tier for matchmaking. So I think Vyper does have a lot of counters, but I mean, if this hero gets going, it actually feels impossible if this hero gets going. But I don't know, like, is she really S+ tier? Like, my gut is telling me that she's S+ tier. But like in my games, there's so little people. I think she's just really hard. I'm going to put her S+ tier, but I think she's really hard to play. So she's overpowered in the right hands, but overall, I think very few players actually play her well. I think Zera plays a very good Vyper, for example. But most people in my matchmaking games, I feel like, are not able to get the value out of Vyper enough. But like, dude, her damage output with split shot, it's like unmissable with split shot on top of that. You just start fucking frying people. It's actually crazy. When it comes to Warden, I think Warden's just a strong pick. I would put him A tier. Warden to me is just John Deadlock. He just kind of does everything decently. He's not exceptional at anything. His damage output's not exceptional. His tankiness is good, but it's not like the most tanky. But he has very high health, and he's got debuff resistance and a shield. So he's quite tanky, as well as his ultimate is like unstoppable while you're casting if you max it. But other than that, he's kind of just like, you know, he just does everything decent. There's nothing about Warden that like screams, oh my god, this hero's crazy to me. His damage output can be good. His tankiness can be good. His crowd control is decent with Cage. If you max Cage, silence Cage is nice. But overall, I think he's just a solid hero that doesn't really get to shine that much. Okay, so Wraith. So Wraith got nerfed a little bit. She didn't get nerfed much, though. She's either like, okay, so in my mind, I think Wraith is S tier. I don't think she's S+ tier because I think that she's more counterable than a lot of these heroes. So I'm going to put her S tier. I think if you are lower rank, she's very hard to counter because the thing about Wraith is her damage output is absolutely unreal, and therefore she requires a high degree of coordination to shut down, where people need to go in on her coordinated, and also people need to recognize, hey, I'm playing Abrams, I need to focus this Wraith down and not let her play the game. And therefore, I think at lower ranks, she is S+ tier because people don't play around that. But recently in my games, I can't say Wraiths have been a ton, like a huge issue. Most of the time, I feel like we're able to deal with her just fine. But she still feels really strong when she hits critical mass, of course. And last but not least, we have Yamato. So Yamato was like just getting stuck in walls left and right. Apparently that's fixed. So her getting stuck in walls like made her a lot worse. I think that she's just a solid hero right now. I don't think that she's like meta defining, but I'm never upset to have Yamato on my team. So I'm going to put her in strong picks for that. I think that she is incredibly versatile. She plays well into a lot of team compositions. I mean, her ultimate being not only a cleanse, but also CC immune is always going to have value. It's very rare that Yamato has truly bad metas because her kit is just extremely versatile. So when you want a frontliner, Yamato is often not the best option compared to like Billy Abrams. But if you want like a frontliner that can do a lot of damage as well, she can be good. And in certain matchups, she can be better. For example, playing against Pocket, she's got the cleanse where she can ult and remove affliction. And that's obviously extremely valuable. She's also got a really good chase with grapple. So if you're playing against a carry like a Wraith, for example, just finding someone to get on top of her, Yamato can be good. Same for against a hero like Vindicta. So I definitely think that she has team compositions in which she can shine. But overall, she doesn't strike me as like OP or anything. How is Yamato considered a frontliner the same as Billy Abrams? I don't get it. Well, so the reality is she has a decent health pool. Her ultimate gives her a bunch of resistances, and her 3 heals her, and her grapple gets her right on top of people. So a lot of her kit is frontliner. Now, she's a frontliner with more damage. I would say that she is the Warden of Spirit heroes. So Warden is kind of like a gun hero that is like a frontliner. Yamato is kind of like a Spirit hero that is a frontliner. Right? Like Abrams, Billy are more traditional frontliners, and same for Mo. Yamato is more of like a spirit damage dealer that's a frontliner as well. That's it for my tier list. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to leave a hate comment if you disagree with any of my placements. Also, on top of that, whatever placement you disagree with the most, let me know. Of course, tier lists are 100% subjective, so if you're watching on YouTube, I'd also like to remind everybody, like, don't let a tier list affect how you play. At the end of the day, just play what you like and play what you're good at, okay? You're going to do way better. You're going to climb way better if you play the heroes that you're good at, okay? If you play the heroes you're good at, you're going to do way better than just playing the S+ tier heroes, flavor of the month, blah, blah, blah. And this is just my opinion. That's it.